Hi everyone, nice to see you again. Welcome back to Pacific Front channel. What a week for the Indonesian Air Force. Last week, we saw not one, but two big news for the Air Force in less than 24 hours. They not only got the Rafale, but also have the possibility to get the F-15EX as well. So, in today's video, let's take a look back at what happened last week. We're gonna dive into this news in more detail and find out what are the implications for the Indonesian Air Force. For those who missed last week's event, here's the summary of what happened. On 9 and 10 February, the French Minister of Armed Forces visited Indonesia to finalize the agreement in the defense sector between both countries. Not much happened on the first day, but on the second day, that was the day we've been waiting for. We officially become one of Dassault Rafale operators. 6 aircraft for the first order from a total of 42 aircraft, including the missiles, training, logistic support, and simulators. Besides the Rafale deal, both countries also signed a MOU in several sectors as well. The first one is between Indonesian Aerospace and Dassault Aviation. As part of technology transfer, the Indonesian Rafale will be maintained and overhauled in the Indonesian Aerospace facility. Moreover, all French-made aircraft that Indonesia have, like the Caracal and Fennec, now can be maintained and overhauled domestically as well. Second, MOU between PT PAL and Naval Group for submarine transfer of knowledge that will lead to the procurement of 2 Scorpion-class submarine. Third, MOU between Pindad and Nexter Group for the production of high-caliber munition, from 20 and 30 mm to 105 and 120 mm caliber for medium tank and MBT. And lastly, MOU between Land Industry and Thales Alenia Space for military satellites. So far, that's what we know from the French Minister of Armed Forces visit. Then, when I thought it couldn't get any better, on Friday morning, we got another big news. The US Defense Security Cooperation Agency, or DSCA, released a notice to approve a possible foreign military sale of F-15ID and related equipment for $13.9 billion. In the statement, Indonesia has requested to buy up to 36 F-15ID aircraft, 87 engines, 45 AESA radar, 45 EPAUs, and other supporting equipment. I put the link in the description if you want to read it. However, this notice still has to be certified by the US Congress before Indonesia can negotiate for the aircraft with the manufacturer. Now, let's take a closer look starting from the F-15ID. Although the notice from the SGA can be said as a great news for the Air Force, we can't be too happy just yet. At this point, it doesn't mean anything for us. It all depends on the US Congress whether they won't approve it, approve all of it, or approve only some part of it. Remember the V-22 Osprey for the Indonesian Army, which until now we never heard about anymore? It can happen again with this one. Furthermore, not all the technologies stated in the notice will be available to Indonesia, like the Eagle Passive Active Warning Survivability System or EPAWS, the eyes and ears of the Eagle 2 to detect any kind of threat, which is still prohibited by the US Congress for export. So, the final configuration of the aircraft, if we gonna buy it, might be slightly different from what we requested. But if they do allow it, we'll have the most advanced F-15 beside the US. For now, nothing we can do about it except sit back, relax, and wait, and let the lobbyists our Ministry of Defense hire to lobby the US Congress do their job. Now, about the Rafale agreement. Personally, I didn't expect the agreement would be this wide covering so many sectors. But bear in mind that last week contract signing was only for the 6 aircraft, and those aircraft are still waiting for activation from the Indonesian Ministry of Finance to pay the down payment. If the Ministry of Finance has paid the fee, the production can be started and the aircraft are expected to be delivered 56 months later. Looking at its production timeline, it's definitely a new airframe, but I cannot confirm what version it will be. According to the Ministry of Defense spokesperson, the total cost for the first 6 aircraft is around $1.1 billion. The Indonesian Defense Minister didn't mention when the contract for the remaining aircraft, including the training solution, logistical support, and armament will be signed. But some friends in the military forum believes it probably a year from now, following the fiscal year 2023 budget. And for the offset, Indonesian Aerospace and its subsidiary PT NTP are directly benefited from this contract. PT NTP, which engage in aircraft engine propulsion, will be responsible for maintenance, repair, and overhaul of the Rafale's engine. while Indonesian Aerospace will be responsible for sensor and avionic maintenance, airframe integration, also weapons and firing control system integration. The rest of the event was only MOU signing. We still don't know much about the details of this agreement except the goals. I assume a follow-up contract will be announced in the coming months or maybe years. What we can conclude from this agreement is, every single one of them is important for us. The MOU between PT PAL and Naval Group is important to learn the know-how to develop and construct a real submarine. The MOU between Pindad and Exter for high-caliber munitions is important because we must have the capability to locally produce this caliber to support our Leopard 2, Harimau MT, and Pandur 2 in the future. Lastly, the MOU between Land Industry and Thales Alenia Space is important because the Indonesian Armed Forces slowly but steadily begin to shift into network-centric warfare, and Land Industry is the lead integrator of this transformation. With the help of the Thales expertise in satellite manufacturing and network integration, we can complete the transformation much faster. Before we continue, if you find this video informative and useful, please hit the like button so it can spread to more people. Thank you! According to the Strategic Defense Plan back in 2006, the military planner at the time calculated that to cover Indonesian airspace as fast as Western Europe, the Indonesian Air Force needs a minimum 10 to 12 fighter squadrons. Currently, they only operate 2 F-16 squadrons and 1 Sukhoi squadron. Combined with the lack of air defense capability, which we already discussed before, their current capability is far from ideal to intercept and destroy incoming threats. If the Rafale program goes well and the US Congress approves the sale of F-15ID, it will boost our fighter fleet to 8 squadrons. It still hasn't reached the minimum essential force yet, but with the technology and the capability each aircraft has, I think it will outweigh our squadron shortage for some period of time. And remember, the Air Force will have around 50 KF-21 in the mid-2030s. So at some point in the future, the Air Force will have 10 fighter squadrons. Not bad in my opinion. Capability-wise, I think I don't have to explain about it anymore, right? Rafale is one of the most advanced 4.5 Gen fighter aircraft available on the market. It was born to perform a wide range of roles carrying the latest equipment and weapons. But what about the military and geopolitical implication of this procurement? For decades, every fighter aircraft that the Indonesian Air Force has, our neighbors also have it. And in many cases, they have the better version of ours. Singapore has the better version of the F-16, Malaysia has the better version of the Sukhoi, and the Philippines has the combat version of our T-50. From these comparisons, on paper, our fighter aircraft will lose against theirs. But soon, as the sole Rafale operators in Southeast Asia, the Air Force capability cannot be read and measured by our neighbors anymore. Therefore, the Rafale will bring a greater deterrence effect than our existing fleet. Geopolitically, the Rafale procurement and the other agreements that follow makes Indonesia become one of the biggest French customer in this part of the world. We have to thank Australia for this though. Because of them, now we are the most important country in French eyes in the region. As we saw it in last week's event, they try to provide any request we wanted, so that they don't lose influence in this region. Furthermore, our leverage in the Indo-Pacific with the EU and NATO and in the UN Security Council will also increase because of this. There you have it, the Rafale deal, a possible F-15ID procurement, and the implication for the Indonesian Air Force and for Indonesia in general. With the relation between Indonesia and France at its peak, what kind of military equipment should we buy from them next? Let me know in the comment section below. And as always, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy it. Please visit my merch store. The link is in the description below. Subscribe to my channel and I will see you next time.